The developers of Rise to War have been cranking out patches with some major updates to Lord of the Rings Rise to War. If you didn't know already, they are, at least in Season 1, they are removing factions from the game, and I think that probably whatever new campaign they come out with next will follow this general idea as well. What do I mean by that? Well, let's get into it. Alright, so you guys are going to have to bear with me somewhat for this video. I had made a new account on the brand new server that came out yesterday to check things out in preparation for this video. I thought another new server was going to come out today. And when I try to join this server, apparently my journey is not found. So I can't actually show you guys exactly everything. I did manage to take a screenshot of one of the things just in case, and I can pull that up here in a bit. So we will go with some PvP footage while I talk away. So first things first, factions are gone from Season 1. What do I mean by that? I mean that instead of picking Rohan, Gondor, Mordor, Lothlorien, Rune, whatever, when you create your account now in Season 1, you pick a type of a base. The type of base is restricted somewhat based on the map, and I'll pull up a screenshot of how that works here in a few minutes. But the point being, the thing you need to know, the type of base that you choose determines the order of your quarters as well as the T4 unit. So you're basically picking your faction. However, those factions are no longer locked to spawning in particular regions of the map. They are sort of locked. Like I said, I'll talk about that in a minute. But in my opinion, this is going to be a very positive change for the game. The Lord of the Rings nerd in me is a bit sad in the sense that these major factions are so tied into the lore of the game, particularly like the whole struggle between Gondor and Mordor, the struggle between Isengard and Rohan. You know, this game has such a rich amount of lore behind it that it is sad to part with that to some extent. However, I do think it's a net positive overall for the gameplay experience, because now, as a Fellowship or Warband, you're no longer going to have to debate or vote on, or however you guys pick which factions you're going to play in a particular season. You don't have to do that anymore. Everybody that has Gil can just start with elves. Everybody that has Thorin can just start with dwarves. And everybody who is cool like me and uses King of Men, they can just start with men units. That was a little bit of a joke. I normally don't really make jokes in videos, but just in case you guys didn't understand, that was some sarcasm that I sprinkled in there. So I'm really looking forward to hopefully future campaigns having this sort of setup, because as the leader of a fellowship, one of the biggest struggles every single season is people deciding which faction to play, because you can't make 100 people happy. That's pretty much impossible. If you play Lothlorien one season, all the people that play dwarves are going to be sad, and if you play Erebor one season, all the people that play elves are going to be sad. Now everybody can be happy, at least to a certain extent. So if factions are gone, what happens next? You don't have the built-in factions. It's going to be more like the Kings of Men campaign, where fellowships and warbands will create kingdoms eventually down the line in these seasons, and then the fellowships and warbands, other ones can join that kingdom. The exact mechanics of this in that Season 1 server, I don't know yet, because apparently I can't log into that server to find out. Hopefully I'll be able to get that fixed. Maybe my account needs to be deleted or something. I didn't play very much on the account. Maybe that's why I can't log in. Hopefully, as the time goes on, I'll be able to get the information on how exactly that works, potentially make a video on it. But it's going to be kind of like Kings of Men, is what it seems like, where you just create your own faction and then other people can join it. And finally, if factions are gone, how does spawning work? Luckily, I managed to take a screenshot of this. I probably should have taken a screenshot of the choose your base style screen, but I didn't think about it. I thought I would just be able to either make a new account on a new server or pull it up in some other manner. However, I can't. But as far as choosing where you spawn goes, at the beginning of the game, I think I counted eight potential regions on the outskirts of the map that you can spawn in. You'll see right up here-ish, if I can point correctly, there is a style limit on the various regions of the game. What this means in practice is you can't have a Lothlorien or Elf style base and then go ahead and spawn in Mordor. Likewise, you wouldn't be able to have like a Mordor evil base spawning in what would be considered a good region. The style limits are denoted. These probably don't mean anything to us right now. I don't even know which of these little symbols equates to which base style. The point being, the type of base that you pick will somewhat impact where you spawn on the map, but you're still going to have way more options than before. Whereas if you picked Rohan, and I'm using them as an example because we played them a couple seasons back, we all had to spawn near the center of the map. And that can be very, very awkward diplomatically. It can be very awkward for expansion and obtaining resources. So I also think that this spawning on the outskirts of the map is going to help a lot as well. One, in the sense that certain factions are no longer going to be mid-map factions that are easily prone to just getting ganked by 3 or 4 other factions, Lothlorien, Isengard, and Rohan being the prime examples of that. Arnor to a certain extent on some servers, just not as common as those 3. I think that's one of the main reasons why Isengard wasn't played. It's just you're just surrounded by enemies in every single direction that you go, always, all the time. However, now we're going to be spawning on the edge of the map. It seems like they're shifting the game in a way to try and have people push from the outside in, which is a concept that I also think is going to be wonderful for the game, because now, hopefully, this means, and it might take another map update or 2, but hopefully it means that the beginning of the game, you're able to establish a really nice, safe-ish economy on the outer portions of the map, and then as everybody pushes into the middle, fighting will break out, but the core backbone of your economy isn't going to be, hopefully, knock on wood, this is kind of my prediction, hopefully won't be as prone to being decimated over time as if you are, say, Rohan, and East Emnet and the Wold and Fangorn get invaded, and bam, now your entire economy, which is pretty much wood tiles anyway in Rohan, your entire economy is gone. And now what do you do? How do you keep playing? How do you keep fighting? It's very, very difficult. However, if you spawn on the edges of the map, hopefully those tiles will be more safe. I'm sure there will be some teams out there that will make the concerted effort to chase you all the way to the very corners of the map to take away all of your tiles and kind of be rude in that aspect. But hopefully in the majority of cases, even if you're on the losing side of a conflict, you'll have economy to fall back on, or you can at least move back to those beginner regions and farm for yourself. As we shift back to some PvP action, the final note that I want to make is this new server does seem to be exclusively some flavor of non-roleplay. I don't know if that's going to be every campaign in the future that follows that sort of structure in terms of no factions, pick a base style, spawn on the edge of the map, make a kingdom, etc., or if it is just that server in particular. It may be the case that given the way that these base styles work, and I believe players will have the ability to change them over time, that let's say you start as an elf base, then you go to invade Mordor, and you need to relocate into Mordor. Well, since there are going to be those regional restrictions on which bases can exist where, you would have to change to like some type of evil base, I do believe. So it might be the case where, given those new mechanics, it's going to be a strictly non-roleplay option. However, I want to emphasize that that is just speculation from my part. There's no insider information. I don't think the devs have announced anything. They did release a Devs in the Tavern video a couple weeks ago, so you could check that out. They discussed some of this, potentially in more detail than I just did. It was a pretty solid video overall, and I hope that they do more like that and keep up the lines of communication. Let me know what you think about these new changes down in the comments, and thank you for watching.